Hello everyone and welcome back to another video from my channel Hybrid Model Railway. Now today I'm going to take you through the top 10 of my favourite tips and tricks for buying second-hand locomotives on eBay. Now, obviously, you could use other sites such as Gumtree, Facebook Marketplace, even just ringing around people, and asking, you got any model trains you want to sell me for a very good price? But I feel like eBay is the most commonly used site by both people who are just starting model railways and wanting to get some cheap stuff instead of buying the starter sets that can be sometimes a bit overpriced. And also the more experienced modelers who are wanting more high-end stuff, but they aren't wanting to fork out 250 quid for an engine. They might want to get a little bit less detailed one on eBay, or maybe one somebody's had for second hand, or somebody's already had. But it's just a really common site, and you think, oh, I want a, let's say, a Hornby engine shed. Go to eBay, it'll be cheaper. Don't even think Hornby do those anymore, correct me if I'm wrong. But it's just a good place for getting general stuff. I started off on eBay. I had a pretty good experience with it, but that story is to be told for another day. In fact, that's next year's video. I've got a slew of 3 videos next year talking about how you properly start model railways. But I thought I'd do this top 10 one now, just because it's coming up to Christmas. It will help people buy, if they're buying for older people or if they're buying for younger kids. By older people, I mean parents, grandparents, etc. I'm not calling people old, obviously. But I just felt like it was a good time to release this video just before Christmas. So we'll get on to the first point. Right then, on we go to the first point. We're going to go from point number 10, which is the least useful of the 10, but obviously they all still are all important, because there's obviously more than 10 things you do when you're shopping on eBay. Going from 10, technically the least important, to 1, the most important. And 1 may be a bit of a cop-out to say it's the most important thing, but it's certainly the thing that I use most. So number 10 is always check the title and the description. So, as you can see here, we have an 00 gauge Derby lightweight, a very nice DMU from Bachmann. I think the mechanism's not very good on this one. A bit of advice if you're looking for a Derby lightweight. But overall, apparently, according to Sam's Trains, it's very good. So, what I mean by check the title and the description is, for example, if you're on a DC system like I am on analog, I'm on DC, I'm on the old retro, just controlling the voltage, change the speed of the trains, more power into the motors, go faster, boom, done. But obviously, if I hadn't have read the title and I'd have just seen the main key words, Derby lightweight and 00 gauge, or 00, however you say it, doesn't really matter. If you'd have just seen that and had have thought, oh, Bachmann Derby lightweight, oh yeah, quick look at the pictures, boom, down here, oh yeah, description's alright. You might have come 3 days and 23 hours later and thought, oh yeah, I remember that, I saved it to my watch list, which is the next point, talking about your watch list later. You might have thought, oh yeah, that's good, is that, bid on it, comes to your house, bam, doesn't work, because you're on DC, and this is DCC. Obviously, if you are a person that likes taking stuff apart, I would have probably taken it apart if I'd have made that mistake. Not going to call it a silly mistake, because people can do this, and obviously, you're obviously not at 100% of your brain power all the time. You might be at 6 minutes past 8, like I am filming this video, had to restart twice, and you might be looking for engines, but you might not be thinking properly. Whatever the reason is, just take a moment to read the title in full. Google the product numbers, such as this one, if there is any. That also helps to see if other sellers are selling it for more or less to help you get the best deal. But most importantly, just take a moment to think about what the title actually means and what every word in it means. So go through it step by step and make sure you understand what that means. So obviously, if you're going to read the title properly, you will see that it's DCC fitted, and I will think, if I were going to buy that now, that's either unsuitable if I don't want to take it apart and take the DCC decoder out, simply because, well, DCC and DC don't really mix, but sometimes they do, but generally they don't. If I was the sort of person that did want to dismantle it, I'll be slightly disappointed that it didn't work when it first came, but then I'd realise there's a DCC decoder in it. But obviously, you know your own skill set, so regardless of whether you can take out DCC sockets or not, please just remember to read the title, and also please read the description all the way down at the bottom in in good detail as well. Understand what everything in the description means. Check the item specifics. Up here somewhere there's some also like points where you can add. So you can add like in the item specifics. It might say OO gauge, color green, year of manufacture, product number, etc., etc. 2 rail or 3 rail. That's another one you need to look out for. Just make sure that you understand what it is. And also, especially with this DCC one here, this seller's been very helpful in saying programmed to number 3, so how it would come out of the factory. And if you hadn't have read the description, but that had been in the description, and you'd have realised later after going through all 99 loco addresses and it taking you hours to plonk them all in and test it, then, you know, you'd have thought, drat, I should have read the description. So make sure you understand the title and the description. Right then, on we move to point number 9, and that point is watch as many things as you can. So what I mean by watch is, say I'm going for an Evening Star 9F, which I do quite like. We've got a 9F here, I think. Oh yeah, 3 days, 19 hours. Yep, I'll definitely remember that. Comes to a week later, and I think, oh, I wonder if that 9F's still on eBay. You come back to it, can't find it. It's expired. So by watching this item, if you're signed in, which I'm not at the moment, because there's really no need to, if you watch it, you can either watch it and save it to your watch list, which you can get in up here. Obviously, I need to sign in or register, so I can't show you that. But it's pretty easy to find. It's up here and just in watch list there. And also saved searches is another good one to put it into as well. However, watch lists do give you notifications, so if you set up your eBay account, plonk your email in, which you'll have to have done, what it basically does is it will send you a notification if somebody bids, if somebody outbids you, if the reserved offer, like people sometimes put a reserve on, if that's been exceeded, you know, if there's only half an hour left until the engine expires, or if the seller sent you an offer, which I'll get onto in just a moment. So watch as many items as you can, because if we go back, let's just blonk that in, just as an example. So if we plonk that in here, and we're looking for a 9F, right? So you might think, oh yeah, I want a 9F. Oh, that one looks alright there. Oh, that one looks okay down there. Yeah, that one looks quite reasonable. Yeah, that actually looks quite nice. It looks a bit weathered, does that one? Is that mine? No, it nearly was mine. Seven digits off at the end. Anyway, we're getting off track. So you might go through and think, oh yeah, there's a couple of 9Fs. I'll definitely remember to check them all. You won't. Save them to your watch list. You'll get notifications. Also, if you save lots of things to your watch list, it can give you an increased chance of getting that engine for cheap. So, what I mean by that is, I've recently bought 2 Hornbeat 902 circuit controls. I showed them in Sunday's stream. Well, I showed one of them because the other one's ready to be fixed. So, if you save quite a lot of engines to a watch list, then in each individual seller, or if the seller's selling 2 or 3, or if there's like 5 sellers selling 5 different things, then what that means is sometimes sellers have the option to send an offer to all people who have that listing in their watch list. So say 50 people had this in their watch list, which is unlikely, but it's just an example, then the seller might have a button that says, send people who have this item in their watch list an offer of £60 for that engine, expires in 2 days, because that would be the end of the auction for that one. You can see that it says here. And the first person to accept that offer and say, yep, I'll buy it for 60 quid, will get that offer. They will get it for 60 quid. Or if the seller's been waiting for a thing to sell for a long while, they might do that and actually set it lower. So they might set it to 30 quid if they're feeling really nice and if they just want to get rid of the damn thing. So by saving it to your watch list, you can get sometimes seller offers of offers of just a couple of quid or maybe even 10 quid lower than what you want to pay. And that's good. Saves you a couple of bob. You can buy some trees with that. You can buy some static grass with that. Hey, you might even be able to buy some more PVA glue with that couple of quid for ballasting, which I'm stuck in a perpetual cycle of ballasting at the moment, which is always fun. So, watch list, watch list, watch list. Watch as many things as you can. Save them to your watch list. Get the notifications and potentially get a couple of quid off. Point number 8, always check the reviews. Reviews aren't really that common for auction stuff on eBay. This one here is from Rails of Sheffield, and they generally have a lot of reviews. Other shops also have shops, otherwhere online aside from eBay, might also have the sort of reviews, because Rails of Sheffield have set up an eBay store, much like the actual online, regular Rails of Sheffield site is. So, although it's not that common, I do recommend checking the reviews and also the feedback for the seller. I'd say, I personally, if the positive feedback is only at sort of 97%, if it's anywhere below 97%, well, you might think, oh yeah, 97 out of 100 items have been fine, but also that 97%, although it might seem like they've got only 3% negative reviews, people might have left neutral reviews of things that are a little bit wrong. So personally, myself, I only accept stuff that's above 97%. Most of the time, I can't ever remember accepting one less than that, because people on eBay generally pretty much have 100% positive feedback. Although with a large store like Rails of Sheffield, you are going to get a couple of Karens and Kevins having a pop at you, or maybe they were just having a bad day at the office, but who knows. So always remember to check the sellers, check the seller's feedback. So have a look there, click on the profile, have a look at the positive reviews, have a look at the negative reviews, weigh up the pros and the cons, and decide for yourself if that's something you want to start buying. At the top where it says product listings as well, do make sure that you read the reviews for that specific thing. So you can see Rails of Sheffield had already sold 2 Bachmann 5MTs. I got quite excited then, because I thought, oh yeah, it's a 4MT, I might be able to get that with the money I've just sold for the engines. And then, because, remember in the video I'm just filled in, I read the title and it said 5MT. Don't always assume at the pictures. Read the title, like I said, on point number 10. And always check the reviews. As you can see here, Rails of Sheffield, overwhelmingly positive, as you would expect from a retailer such as Rails of Sheffield. So, point number 8, always check the reviews. Coming in at number 7, Rails of Sheffield, you're getting a lot of exposure today. Please use this feature. I don't hear of this feature being used a lot. I only realised you could do it myself a couple of months ago, but this feature is very, very useful. This button down here with the love heart, you might think, oh, that's cute, there's a love heart. Save this seller. That is an incredibly useful feature. So, for example, if this isn't Rails of Sheffield, right, and somebody is selling engines, and in the description they might have put selling due to bereavement of my late father or whatever, and, they're selling a couple of engines now, and then they're having a break from selling engines and posting, and then they might be selling them in future, because obviously they don't want to get rid of everything at once. The people who are bereaving might want to have a look at, the engines for themselves and try and get them working or whatever. I know it's a bit dim, but it's just an example of why model trains are actually sold on eBay. So save this seller can be really useful. Basically, it means that in your feed, in your homepage feed, or when you're scrolling through eBay, it's probably more likely to give you results from that seller. And also up here, I mentioned this earlier, saved sellers, you can go in there and you can see that the seller is obviously, it'll be selling some more stuff. You'll probably get some notification emails from eBay as well. This is also useful if you've bought, a couple of things from one seller and you're thinking, oh, this seller's got some really good stuff, it's a fair price, it's good quality, there's nothing wrong with them. You can save that there, help the seller out by doing that, because they'll get more hits on their page. You're doing them a favour, you're doing yourself a favour by potentially going back to the same seller and sort of getting a good business relationship from them. And then going back to the watch later page, if that seller thinks, oh yeah, this guy's, buying quite a lot off me, he might send you an offer when it's in your watch list to say, have it off for a couple of quid. So save this seller, use that feature, it is very, very useful. Coming on to point number 6, always inspect the pictures carefully in very much detail, and also make sure you study every single part of that model. So here I've picked up a knackered Triang engine, and I mean knackered, you can see how old it is just from a brief look. But say this was a more expensive loco, and overall it looked alright, all the coupling rods looked in place, you'd had a really quick flick through the pictures and you might think, oh yeah, that's alright, paint works alright, Mechanism looks sort of good. Mechanism's another point we're coming on to later. You might think, oh, it's all right, I'll bid on it. You might get it, and it might be all rusty and mangled and wires hanging out of everywhere and spider webs in it. I mean, you don't know where people put these things, do you? So my top tip is inspect pictures very, very carefully. Now, more than once have I looked at a picture only to come back 10 minutes before the auction ends and think I'm going to bid on this. I've had a last look at the pictures, as I always do before I chuck my bid on, and I've thought, hang on, there's no coupling rods here. There's 3 buffers missing. The British Railways sign's missing off the side. So always double check and triple check the pictures. Use this zoom in feature. If you're on your mobile, you can always click and hold on the picture and then press open in new tab, and then you can go top right in the 3 buttons, select desktop view, and that'll allow you a zoomed in view if you are on mobile. But zoom in, use the mouse button, and check the loco out. You can also use this feature here. So if I was one to buy an engine like this, I might think, oh, that's not very good. There's a massive hole in the body there. There's dust all over the side of it. The pantograph's a bit bent. The sides of the conrods are a bit rusty. Other than that, it might look okay. You know, it might be worth a bit of a project. But just consider stuff like this, breakages like that. And also, underneath, I'll talk about the mechanism and that sort of stuff a little bit later. But make sure you spend a good 30 seconds to a minute carefully studying everything on each photo. Look out, develop a hawk's eye for stuff that's broken, such as this pantograph over here, such as rust on the conrods, dust, missing buffers, missing couplings, coupling hooks that are missing, decals that have rubbed off, paint that's rubbing off. You know, once you've bought a few engines and once you've looked through a few listings on eBay, you will get to know the sort of stuff that you need to be looking out for. Keep a sharp eye. Make sure that you know exactly what you're buying, and when you get the engine and when you've eventually bought it and it's been shipped to your house and you unwrap it, you're not going to think the body's cracked there. I didn't notice that. Drat. So be very careful what you buy and always check the pictures. Moving on to point number 5, set yourself a maximum bid. Then, by what I mean by set yourself a maximum bid. Now, before you even start looking at any trains, any rolling stock, absolutely anything on eBay whatsoever, set yourself a max bid of what you're going to spend. So if you know what you're going to spend, if you know you're going to buy an A4, which is what I've googled up here just because I know Bachmann A4s are quite expensive, then, you know, think, I'm going to buy an A4, don't know what brand it is, but I want an A4, I want to spend £100. Don't go over that £100 because, you know, if you think, oh, it's only £5 over and it gets to £105, and then you think, oh, it's only £5 over what I'm going to say, and then you bid 108, and then, you know, it keeps going up. You can soon, you know, get in the habit of, oh, yeah, I really want this. Oh, no, he's outbid me. Oh, I'll put another bid in. You've got to be very, very careful about, obviously, spending too much money, but obviously thinking about, hang on a minute, is this worth what I've just bid on it, or is this worth what I'm thinking of bidding on it, right? So just be very careful. Or if you don't know what you're going to buy, you might think, I'm going to buy some sort of engine. I'll say I don't really want to spend more than 100 quid. If it's one that's rare, it's a limited edition, I might not want to spend more than 115. You think, if I want a little 040, but I don't know what 040, I might want to spend 30 quid. So just set yourself a max limit, because if I click into this here, you can see that it starts at £63, but it's got pretty much 10 and a half days left. Well, more than 10 and a half days left. So if you're not familiar with eBay, this will not stay at £63. This will end up with probably 12 to 15 bids on it. It'll probably go for somewhere about 120 to 135 quid. So that will not stay at £63. It will not. There is no way that that will stay at £63. So set yourself a max bid, especially if an auction is going to be going on for a long time, and especially if it's just about to end. You need to think, is this right? Is this going to, you know, is this going to be worth what I'm going to pay for it? So set yourself a max bid. Also, if it's a buy it now, don't think that just because it's a buy it now, it's good value. Some people can con you out of a lot of money in buy it nows because you think, oh yes, this is an engine I want. Bam, 140 quid gone. You could have waited on auction and got it for 30 quid less. So Always set yourself a max bid. Think, what am I going to spend? What am I wanting to spend? And is this train in front of me worth what I'm willing to pay for it, or what the bid I put on next would have to be if I was to outbid the other person? Coming in at number 4, check other items. And what I mean by other items is, well, I mean other items. So you see here, I've searched up a Bachmann Tornado, and simply because Bachmann Tornadoes are quite expensive, and I thought, you know what, I'll pick an expensive one just to show you the contrast in prices. You've got one 115 here, you've got one up here at 120, you've got one down here at 140, 140, and then you've also got some Hornby ones thrown in and stuff like that, and some other random stuff that's appeared down here that's also from Bachmann. So what I mean by other items is if you come across this one, say you just search for OO gauge model locomotives, and you've come across this one up here, you go into it and think, £120, yeah, I budgeted 130 because I fancied treating myself with my Christmas money, I fancied getting a new engine, fancied replacing an old A1 that I've got that's not very good anymore, fancy something a bit more detailed, fancy upgrading from the Hornby one, whatever. So you might think, oh yeah, I'll have a look at this one, you pay 119 quid, but then once you've bought it, what else pops up in your listing is this one down here for 115 quid, you've saved yourself 5 quid. Now you might think, oh, that's not a lot, but perhaps you have come across this one here, paid 140, and then come across this one here and thinking, oh Nelly, I could have saved, what, 25 quid there, could have bought myself 2040s for that. So make sure, say if I want I'll use a Hornby, I can type, let's say I want a Hornby class 71. I might look here and think, oh yeah, there's one for 129 quid there, that's alright. And, you know, but then I think, some sellers are selling it up and down, and obviously if you just search, obviously you have literally searched for 71, it's obvious, but if you just see this pop up in your search feed, and you think, oh, 129, but then if you've been smart about it, you'll think, actually, a lot of sellers here are selling it for much, much less than that. Also, online, it's more useful to Google stuff like this. If you Google stuff online outside of eBay, then you will get the general gist of how much stuff is. So you can see here we've got 86.50, we've got 120, we've got 99, we've got 99, we've got 109. So you get to see the sort of valid, not necessarily valid, but stuff that is more valid and more reasonable than the people who are trying to pinch money off you on eBay. Another thing I find useful about Google is if you actually go onto the shopping page, click there, it should, if you click, I can't remember, you can search from low to high at the bottom, but if you're on mobile, what might happen is if you click into the listing without, clicking on the link directly, I think what happens is that it gives you a sort of scale showing you what the high prices are on the internet and what the low prices are on the internet. So if I click on that, it doesn't do it on desktop for whatever reason. But if you do it on mobile, what it will do is it will give you sort of a scale of how expensive stuff are. This compare prices thing here is quite useful. It's not quite as good as the scale because I find visuals are more better than just numbers. But it's useful. I've just noticed that the delivery is costing more than the loco here. That's probably not quite right. Probably Google having another mare, but whatever. Always remember to check other items. Coming on to point number 3, we're in the top 3 now. This is very important. Look for the mechanism. By mechanism, obviously, sellers very, very rarely, unless you're just buying a tender chassis if it's a tender drive loco, or if you're just buying the loco chassis if it's a loco drive loco, then people are very, very unlikely to actually take the top of the tender off and let you see inside of the mechanism, or take the loco body off and let you see inside the locomotive. Now, stuff such as this Flying Scotsman here, the mechanism is very easy to discern what it is. So, for example, if it didn't say Triang, because I have seen this a lot, people saying it's a Hornby Flying Scotsman, not a Triang Hornby Flying Scotsman. Big difference there, big age gap. So, by mechanism, what I mean is research the different types of mechanism. Look at service sheets from Dapol, Hornby, Triang Hornby, Triang, Rovex, Hornby Railways, stuff like that. All different manufacturers. Bachmann, that's another important one. All different manufacturers. Make sure you have a good look at what the different mechanisms are. So from my experience, I know that this, without looking at the title, I know that this is a Triang Hornby one. Sometimes, excuse me, it will say Triang on the bottom of the tender or the loco, but just actually by looking at the screws, I know this is a Triang one. I know that it's a Triang one because it hasn't got the flangeless middle wheel, although that hasn't got any metal on it at all, so that's another thing to look out for with these Triang engines. I know by looking at that cog, by looking at the plastic wheels, by looking at the pickup wiper there on one side only, that is a Triang engine. Obviously, if I didn't have the Triang up here, I just know that. So because I've done model railways for coming up to a year and 9 months, a year and 10 months now, I sort of know what I'm doing. I've serviced many different types of mechanisms. Not all, I'm not claiming to be an expert, but I have seen a wide variety of different types of mechanisms. So research, because if I search Hornby Flying Scotsman tender drive, there we go, then I can look here, and even if it didn't say tender drive, if I get to a decent photo, sometimes the point I was just coming on to about the past one was that I can't type and talk. Get that done. If I put tender drive. Oh. Sometimes where I was coming on to the point about the Triang Flying Scotsman, this one here, sellers I've never ever seen, apart from when selling the tender chassis, if it's a tender drive chassis by itself, or if they're selling a loco chassis, because it's loco drive. Apart from that, I have never ever seen somebody who's taken the body off of the train, the loco or the tender, to show you what mechanism it is. So the point I'm coming about here is sellers are very often likely to take a photo of, side, top, bottom, light up firebox, because it's the Triang one. Sellers are more likely to turn the engine over and show you the bottom of the engine rather than they are to take the whole body off and fiddle about with that. So coming on to Hornby tender drive, if I can find a suitable one here. Let's hope this one has a photo of the bottom. It might not do. In fact, yes, it does. So this seller is obviously quite good. So I know instantly, without even the title being there, I know that this is a tender drive loco. Simply because you've got the pickup wipers coming from one rail that the wheels will touch. So one side of the power is coming from the loco, which is transferred via those copper wipers to that pin to the engine, and then this here, the power is picked up from the tender via this side, goes to the other side of the motor, makes it work. I also know it's a tender drive one because it's got slots cut in where other wheels would go. It's got the brass tubes that the wheels go through. It's got the traction tyres on, a telltale feature of tender drive engines, and also unisolated on that side, hasn't got any rubber feet, but also you can actually see the various gears inside. Now, if I go to one like a Bachmann, let's say a Class 37, these sort of things are more difficult to discern and understand what they are, which is where the service sheet and the product number comes in. Now, obviously, there isn't a product number here. I don't think there's a product number down here. No, there isn't a product number down here. But if you search Bachmann Class 37 BR Green, lightly weathered, D6826 British Railways, you try and include much detail in your search results as possible, you may find a service sheet that tells you what this loco is, how old it is, what the mechanism is, and that way you can sort of get a brief idea of what to expect in terms of mechanism. Mechanisms can make a massive difference. Go and research as much as you can about mechanisms. Take your stuff apart. Obviously, don't break it if you're not confident, but have a look at stuff like that and get to know your mechanisms. Coming on to point number 2, search online for postage and the charges of a loco itself. Now, what I mean by this is, and I have just realised up here, this seller is selling a Class 92, an electric locomotive, as a steam loco, so might send them a message after the video about that, just, you know, help them out a little bit, because I'm nice like that. Search online for loco prices and for postage. So you might think, I have touched on the actual loco price searching online about that before. So let's say I want to buy a Hornby Class 92. So this is already recapping one of the things I've already said. Typing's not doing me any favours, is it? Really not doing me any favours. Hornby Class 92. Normally much better at typing this. It's the pressure of being on video. You can see here that we get all the different liveries. We've got £93 there. Go to shopping. We've got 93, we've got 39, we've got 39. Rails of Sheffield are selling that as a steam loco. They must be having a bit of a bad day in the office. Down here we've got 82, we've got 55. These electric locos are actually not that expensive to say, you know, it's an electric loco. Could get a 92 myself at some point. Anyway, that's not the thing. What I'm saying is make sure that the price is on eBay. So if you're thinking, oh, yeah, I'm going to spend $97.50, I want that engine, before you buy it, have a look on eBay. Have a look on Google and see if the prices are different. So this Romania one here and that Romanian one there are vastly different in price. That's pretty much 100 quid. That one's pretty much 120 quid. So have a look online for the price of the loco. Make sure the price you're going to pay on eBay makes sense. Also, search for postage charges. So you can see here that that's got free postage. That's a terrible example. Let's find one here. Hornby Oil Gauge UBS Class 92 locomotive. Now, the reason why it's probably at £75 is so they can charge more for the postage. So what sometimes sellers do is they will set the loco lower at what it's actually lower than what it's worth, the loco itself, but then add that price onto the postage. So if you don't notice the postage, you'll probably end up, you know, you might not notice it and think, oh crap, I've just paid $10.50 for the thing. And you might think, if you're not that experienced with prices of trains, you might think that you've been overcharged for the postage there, which indeed you have. But when you add if you add the postage to the actual cost of the loco, then it might be actually quite reasonable. So sometimes sellers try to catch you out with stuff like that. It's not very nice, but you know, it's just the stats of buying stuff. Let's go for this one. £4.05 postage. I know that engines like this, I've got a hulking great big massive Class 66 in my drawers. I've just sent a Class 47, I've just sent a 4F. I've sent, you know, dinky little 060s before. No matter the size of the loco, when you're going to sell an engine, as long as you don't send it in a ludicrously massive box, that engine will cost £3.20 to send. So let's say Royal Mail, second class, postage, small parcel. Terrible typing. So we go here. And we'll go Royal Mail second class post, because you might think £4.5 reasonable amount of postage, but say like this one up here that had been £10.50 postage, you might think, what on earth? That is a massive amount for postage. So you can go on the Royal Mail app, which is, you know, it's not the best. But it does give you a general idea of what price you get. I know from experience that a small parcel, maximum of 2 kilograms, 45 cm by 35 cm by 16 cm. I know it's centimetres, I just couldn't be bothered saying centimetres. 45 by 35 by 16 is a small parcel. That will cost you £3.20 as long as the box is within those sizes, and as long as, you know, it doesn't exceed 2 kilograms. So, you know, you might look at that and think, oh, it's only £3.20. This guy called George from Ibercombe Railway, welcome back to another video, has said it's £3.20, and then next time you go on eBay, you might notice £10.50. You do not want to be paying £10.50. Always check the loco prices online. Always check the postage prices. Okay, folks, we are on the ultimate point. We are on the last point. Is a bit of a cop-out, as I said, but my number one top tip is use your gut instinct. As you can see here, we've got a beautiful GBRF Class 66, one that I'm actually looking forward to myself. And this seller, not going to reveal who it is, don't actually know who it is, has said it's a steam locomotive, and they've priced it at a fairly reasonable price, £2 postage, that's under what you'd pay, definitely under £3.20. £80, that's pretty much the RRP from Hornby, probably a bit less, probably more like a retailer price, somewhere between Hornby and a retailer price. However, the fact that it's said steam locomotives is ringing alarm bells in my head. I'm thinking, at this point, this seller might not actually know what they're talking about. They've obviously got everything right. They might have seen the R number, they might have heard of the R number off one of their friends, or asked what the R number was, or had a quick Google. They know it's Hornby, they know it's a O gauge, they might fit on their track. They know it's class 66, they've just plucked the number off the side. They know it's GBRF, they've just plucked the number off the side. But to me, this is actually sending alarm bells ringing off in my head. Ding, 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 ding. Alert, alert. A 66 is not a steam locomotive. Don't know why that went American. But to me, that is telling me that the seller doesn't know what they're selling. To be fair, the seller does know what they're saying, because Secret have done a little bit of HTML text editing on there. Bonus points, and you get a pinned comment in the comment section below if you know what HTML text editing is. And I'll tell you the command to do it. It is Control-Shift-I. So if you can work out what that is and tell me down in the comment section below, then I will, I'll pin your comment and give it a love, that thing where my little picture and it has the love art next to it. I'll give you one of those if you can tell me what HTML text editing is using the Control-Shift-I inspect element keyboard shortcut. Anyway, moving on, that's not necessary. Use your gut instinct. To me, this seller has no clue what they're on about. It's saying that it's a steam locomotive. It's not. It's clearly a diesel locomotive, if you know anything about trains whatsoever. So if you think something's a bit wrong, so say I zoomed into this one here. I can get rid of that other one now. So if I zoom into here, and let's have a brief look. If I zoom into here and I see that these coupling rods look a bit loose, or all the paint's been stripped off it, or that's a bit wonky, or, there's a massive crack in the cab roof, or, there's screws missing from under there, or, there's bits missing and bits of scuffs and stuff like that. If there's something that really doesn't look right, then go with your gut instinct and just forget about it. Even if you think it's a really rare thing that you've found and, oh my god, it's a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity, it isn't. Trust me, 3 or 4 times that has happened to me, and I think, oh, I've got to get this, I've got to get this, I've got to get this, but for whatever reason I haven't got it, and then 2 days later there's been one of the exact same thing. Like a 60103 Flying Scotsman, sorry, but I haven't managed to get my hands on one of those yet. Oh well. But if there is something that is seriously wrong, if there's gears, if you can see a gear poking through the cab, or, if something just doesn't seem quite right, there's so many different things which will set alarm bells going off in your head. But if you are unsure about the locomotive for whatever reason, even if, you think that, the photos are a bit dark, is the seller trying to hide something by not taking them in a well-lit environment? Other angles that the seller has avoided taking pictures of, have they been sort of reluctant and only showed you half of one side? Just be careful, use your common sense and think, is this locomotive going to be right when I fix it? How reputable is the seller? In this case, absolutely reputable, very good seller. And, just be very, very careful about what sort of thing you're going to be buying. Use your gut instinct. If something doesn't feel right, then it's probably not. Okay then everyone, thank you very much indeed for joining me on the top 10 of my favourite tips and tricks for buying second-hand locomotives on eBay. I do hope that these have been useful. Don't forget that some of these do apply to rolling stock and generally anything that you use for your model railway on eBay. So stuff as checking the title and description, watch as many items as you can, looking at reviews, looking at the pictures, setting yourself a max bid. Some things only apply to locomotives though, such as checking the mechanism, stuff like that. And thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.